Our next story features a man who's called Europe's Trump, who also happens to be rooting for Donald Trump. His name is Viktor Orban. He's the Prime Minister of Hungary. And today he made a trip across the border. After more than a decade, he visited Kyiv. Now, this is a significant moment because Orban is not like the rest of the European heads of state. Viktor Orban is friends with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and he's been a thorn in Ukraine's side. Ever since the Russia-Ukraine war began in 2022, Orban has been the sole dissenting voice in the European Union. He has done his best to slow down sanctions against Russia. He has tried to delay aid for Ukraine, and he's also objected to Ukraine joining the European Union. So then why is Orban in Kyiv today? Well, because the Hungarian Prime Minister has been given an additional role. For 6 months, his country has taken over the EU Presidency, the presidency of the Council of the European Union. It is a rotating role. Every member state gets it for 6 months. And right now, it is Hungary's turn. And what are the responsibilities attached to the EU Presidency? Well, Hungary will have to chair meetings. They will have to ensure the continuity of the EU's agenda. They will have to act as an honest and neutral broker to foster cooperation between the EU states. Basically, Hungary will be taking over administrative duties. It is not a glamorous role, but every EU member has to do it for 6 months. In this new role, Viktor Orban decided that the first thing he needs to do was to visit Ukraine and meet Ukraine's President, Volodymyr Zelensky. There's no love lost there. Zelensky and Orban do not see eye to eye on a number of issues. The most obvious one, of course, is the war. Orban believes that Ukraine cannot win the war. So sending Kyiv weapons is just prolonging the inevitable. Instead, Viktor Orban says that Ukraine should seek a ceasefire, and he said the same today during his meeting with Zelensky.
I asked the President Volodymyr Zelensky to think about whether we could reverse the order and speed up peace talks with making a ceasefire first. A ceasefire connected to a deadline would give a chance to speed up peace talks. I explored this possibility with the President, and I am grateful for his honest answers and negotiation.
Orban commended Zelensky on the recent peace summit held in Switzerland, the summit that Russia was not invited to, but Orban probably was not being sarcastic. He said peace initiatives take time to work, and he proposed reversing the order. This is what Viktor Orban suggested. Get a ceasefire in place first, and then work on a peace deal. It doesn't sound like the worst idea in the world, but it seems like Viktor Orban's plan was not accepted, which was only to be expected. If Zelensky was going to stop the war and sue for peace, he would have done so months ago. But Ukraine says they will only accept a quote-unquote just peace. What does that mean? Getting back all the territory that Russia currently controls. That's what Kyiv wants, and Putin is unlikely to accept this demand, which means that the war will drag on. But Viktor Orban was not in Kyiv just to pitch a doomed vision of peace. He also had other plans.
We would like to make the relationship between the two countries better. We would like to make a broad bilateral agreement with Ukraine, similar to the ones we already made with our neighbors in the past. We would be happy to take part in the modernization of Ukraine's economy. We would like an ordered framework for this.
Today we discussed with Mr. Prime Minister Orban the most important questions of our relations, of our neighborly relations. Trade, cross-border cooperation, infrastructure, and energy issues. We've also talked about the humanitarian sphere today, everything that affects the lives of our people in Ukraine and Hungary.
Think about some of the words that the two of them used. Modernization of Ukraine's economy and infrastructure and energy issues. The two leaders were talking about business, the business of rebuilding Ukraine. There's a lot of money to be made in that, and it seems that Orban wants a slice of the pie. Zelensky may be willing to pay that price for Hungary's support because even though the EU presidency is an administrative role, Orban now has more power to create hurdles for Ukraine. And Zelensky will be hoping to avoid that while he focuses on surviving Russia's attacks. On the today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the Western